Hi, this is Ashok here. I'm a trainer for CFA, and you are watching FinEx Training YouTube channel where I make content pertaining to CFA and investment banking topics. This video is on the topic called ADR, American Depository Receipts. If I go to Google, if I go to NYSE, New York Stock Exchange, okay. So over here, so this is just like how we have Nifty, Bombay Stock Exchange, National Stock Exchange. Similarly, in US, this is your stock exchange, and here if I search, let's say Infosys. Here if I search Infosys, I will get Infosys company shares listed here in New York Stock Exchange. Infosys Limited sponsored ADR. Each represents one ordinary shares in fee. Okay, so what does this mean? And I know how come it is listed over there in New York Stock Exchange. So this is a story about ADR, American Depository Receipts. That's what we are going to see now. So American Depository Receipts. Let me take an example. Let's say now in India there is Infosys. Now Infosys provides IT services majorly to US clients, and let's say there are investors over here in US who are interested in buying the shares of Infosys. So what sort of problems are they bound to face? So being in US, the first problem they are bound to face is currency problem. So they will face currency issues. Then what else? Other issues could be uh, other issues could be like more time consuming, more time consuming more time consuming because of time difference, because of more documentations time consuming, or more documentations. Okay. Complex tax structures, complex tax structure. Okay, so yeah, so these are some of the problems which can discourage an investor from investing in Infosys. Okay, but then however they are interested in investing in Infosys. So here is the problem, and this problem is converted into an opportunity by, let's say, an investment bank, let's say JP Morgan. Now what JP Morgan thinks is like how to convert this problem into an opportunity. So what JP Morgan will do over here is they will buy the shares of Infosys, and they will reissue to the investors. So how does this work? Imagine $1, let's say $1 is equal to 80 rupees, and assume the price of Infosys is 80 rupees. Okay, just an assumption. So one share is equal to 80 rupees. Now this share, when bought by JP Morgan and given it to the investors, it will cost almost around $1, because $1 is 80 rupees. Now in this case, the problem over here is this looks like kind of a penny stock. It may look like a penny stock in US because the price is too low, only $1. So some investors can think of this stock as if, like, it doesn't have any quality. It is the fundamentals are not strong, and that is the reason the price is so low. So it can create misconsumption amongst the investors. So what JP Morgan will do is they will club a group of shares together. Say for example, if one share is 80 rupees, 10 shares will be 800 rupees. So what they will do is they will club 10 shares together, and that will be issued to the investors as one. Okay, so 10 shares will represent 1. So I have to give you a new terminology for this 1. I cannot say 10 share is equal to 1 share. So let me give you a new terminology as 1 receipt. So this 10 share represents 1 receipt. So they are buying shares of Infosys, converting it into receipts. So what do you mean by receipts? So receipts as in one receipt represents a certain number of shares. In this case, it represents 10 shares. They are converting into receipts and they are reissuing back to the investors. And when JP Morgan, which is an investment bank, does this work, it is acting as a depository bank. Okay, it is acting as a depository bank. So what is depository bank? As a depository bank, as in they are buying the shares of Infosys from India, and then they are converting into receipts and then reissuing back to the investors. So they are acting as a depository bank, and this is happening in America. So this was named as American Depository Receipts. Okay, so what do you mean by American Depository Receipts? It represents shares of non-American companies. In this case, non-America is in India. It represents shares of non-American companies bought from non-American companies and then converted into receipts and then issued to the investors in America. So it is called as American Depository Receipts. Now, this has been categorized into three types. One is unsponsored, unsponsored ADRs, unsponsored ADR. Second one is, unsponsored comes under type 1. Second one is type 2. Third one is type 3. Okay. So unsponsored, type 2 and type 3 both are sponsored. Sponsored. This is also sponsored. So what do you mean by unsponsored? Unsponsored is just whatever I was explaining now. This is unsponsored ADR. So unsponsored means where the underlying company, that is Infosys, will have no tie-up with the depository bank. So in this case, JP Morgan did not take any permission from Infosys to do all this activity of converting it into receipts and then issuing it to the investors. So in this case, it is called as an unsponsored ADR. Now, what is sponsored ADR? Sponsored ADR as in, now in this case Infosys would like to would like to follow the rules of US regulator. So what they will do is they will submit the documents, the filings in US, I mean with US regulatory, and they will follow the rules over there specified by SEC over there, that is Securities and Exchange Commission. So in that case, it becomes a sponsored ADR. Okay, so they are keeping the regulator in loop. They are informing about all the activities of Infosys. Okay, sponsored type 3. Type 3 is one step ahead. One step ahead, as in they are filing all their documents in US as well as they want to raise money from US. So in type 3, they will raise capital from US. So they will raise capital from US and list their shares in the stock exchange. Raise capital from US and list their shares in the stock exchange of US. In the stock exchange of US. Okay. Over here, they will not raise capital, but however they will do the filing. They will do the filing work. They will do the filing work with the regulators. That is SEC over there. Okay. So these are three types. Now, when this was introduced first somewhere around, I think 1949 somewhere, it was introduced and it was started by JP Morgan only, and it became very popular. Then later on, what happened? The same concept was introduced in other countries as well. Say for example, now in this Indian company, let's say in Europe, there is a depository bank who are buying shares of Indian company and issuing shares in Europe. Then it will be called as EDR, European Depository Receipts. Okay. Now this unsponsored, sponsored, this kind of categorization is there only in US. So this is European Depository Receipts means represent shares of non-European companies being traded in Europe. That is European Depository Receipts. But European Depository Receipts. Similarly, if it is Japan, then we call this as Japan Depository Receipts. So for each country, specific depository receipts like this started coming up, and the general name for all these depository is GDR. It was given the name as Global Depository Receipts. Global Depository Receipts. Okay. Yeah, fine. So, okay, so this is about ADR and GDR. And uh, as far as India is concerned, we had one IDR, Indian Depository Receipts, long back somewhere in 2010. It was introduced. Standard Chartered Bank, which happens to be the company from or the bank from UK. That bank came to India and they listed their shares. They raised money from India and listed their shares in the Indian Stock Exchange, in Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange. However, it got delisted later on. And as far as India is concerned, we had one IDR, that means non-Indian companies traded in India. So that was Standard Chartered Bank. Standard Chartered Bank happens to be the company from UK. So it came to India, raised capital somewhere in 2010 or so, and it got listed in the Indian Stock Exchange. But then, however, recently it has been delisted. Okay, so that was the only IDR that has happened in India so far. Okay, so all right, this is about ADR, GDR, and IDR. Thank you.